pinned down, huh? What are you running right now? Oh, okay, you're trying to get the tag from front. Okay, we can work with that, that's fine. Here's the plan, okay? I'm gonna go right, and you go left, we'll meet in the middle, and crush these dirt, got it? Alright, let's get it. Count of 3, ready? 3, 2, 1. What's up, guys? Welcome to the Wolf's Den. My name is Wolf, and today it's time for another deep dive featuring this beauty right here. Now, before we get into it, some of you might be asking, well, Wolf, what is this thing? And to those of you who are asking that question, I'm gonna take a minute, because some of you might know what this is and just don't realize it. Now, for those of you who do not know where this is from, or maybe you do and don't realize it, this weapon in particular has been featured most prominently in Black Ops 2, where it kind of got a name for itself, either because you loved the gun or you hated it. It has also been featured in the 2019 installment of Call of Duty under a different name, but it is still this gun right here, just with a couple tweaks to make it legal and all. And it's also been featured in one of my favorite games, which is Ghost Recon Wildlands, and it's in Ghost Recon Breakpoint. We don't talk about them here. That game can go and, just stay over there, little Timmy. But nonetheless, this gun was in that game as well. If there are others, of course, in the comments below, be sure to let me know where you guys recognize this gun from before we jump right into it. Now, what is this thing? Those of you who don't know, still, after those little references, what is it? What does it do? What is its purpose? Well, this, ladies and gentlemen, as the name would indicate right here on the side, for those of you who can see that, or for those of you who do not know, this is the ASG Scorpion Evo3 A1. And this gun is an absolute beast. It's of course made by the company CZ, which has been known for many other weapon platforms across the years. Things like the Bren or the CZ109, which is their pistol, among other types of pistols. The 109 is just the one I'm familiar with. They've also made a plethora of more compact type versions of this gun, of course featuring this barrel here that you see here, or this handguard. They've also made one with a longer barrel and handguard, one with an integrated suppressor similar to the MP5 SD series. But today we're going to be talking about this one in particular, which this, of course, in real life is a 9mm submachine gun, utilizing CZ's quite prominent polymer construction, which this gun is made, from my knowledge, completely out of the same polymer that the real Scorpion Evo is made of, which I think is actually really, really cool. And from an aesthetic, like realism, I think it's really cool. So if that's something you guys are into, the realism factor on this gun is definitely up there. Now, of course, I'm not going to be covering what I put on this gun just yet. We're going to go ahead and strip this guy down, and we're going to talk about what you get out of the box with this gun right here. So let's go ahead, get this guy undressed, and we'll get right into it. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. And two disclaimers, just very, very quickly. First off, you'll notice, what's up with the dangling wire? Well, that is a personal addition of my own to make the battery adaptation or storage a little easier for me. Similar to the WE-ACR that I covered in the last review, the battery is stored right here, which we'll cover right now. The battery storage is underneath the outer barrel, which you can see here. It's kind of protruding out. Very short barrel, but we'll get to that in just a second. The battery space is within the handguard itself, and it just goes from here down to this little angled bit here. And it's very small. It can fit an 11.1 type battery, which, actually, you know what? I have one. Let me just grab one. So, it will fit something similar to this. Now, what it won't do is regularly fit a Tamiya style. From what I remember, it does come standard with this little Dean's or T-plug, which is nice because personally I prefer Dean's plugs. They seem a little more efficient in battery consumption, and they help the gun run a little better, especially when you're dealing with an inline or internal Mosfet, which this gun does feature. Once again, we'll get to that in just a minute. Just teasing you guys a little bit with all the goodie bits that are in this little gun right here because I'm super excited, and I want to show you guys all this thing has to offer. And we're going to start once again going from tip to stock, just like we did last time. And some of you corrected me. It's technically not tip to stock as the Marines would do it, but rather it's tip to butt as the Marines would do it. So, pardon me. I'm so sorry. But let's jump right into here. And let's first off, let me just show clear, because this gun does have a functioning charging handle and a nice little proprietary magazine. So we'll just show clear, just get that out of the way for now. And we're going to start up front. So right here, you can see there is a little nub here. That is where your federally mandated orange tip would go when you received it from shipping here in the US. If you're outside the US, you may not have that problem, but it is held on just right there on that little flat nub right here. Just below that are some 18mm positive threads, which hold on your barrel nut here that you can see, this little guy right here that's connected to the threads, and a 14mm negative adapter, which I do have and I'll cover. But it is important to note that if you're looking to add a 14mm negative, a mock suppressor or muzzle brake to this gun, you will have to get that adapter for this gun. There are options, I think there's one or two options directly from ASG, which is the company who makes this, that are 18mm positive threading for like the standard EVO muzzle brake that will fit directly on here if you remove the orange tip. No problem, no questions needed on that. But it is important to note that this does not have standard threading out of the box. You have to get that separately, either from ASG or wherever you can find it. Moving back from there, we of course have our nice polymer handguard, which has a quad rail built into it with a monolithic top rail and a side rail on each side, here and here, and of course a bottom rail, which you'll see there is what appears to be a little shark fin at the bottom, and you might be wondering what that is. Well, that is the Scorpion Evo style hand stop that is associated with the Scorpion Evo, especially in Black Ops 2. It's just on the gun as the game has it, and it's ubiquitous with this gun. To see one without it, it almost looks wrong, at least to me, as someone who played a lot of Black Ops 2 back in the day, making me sound old. but not seeing my Evo with that hand stop almost makes it look a little weird. So this can come with your Evo when you buy it, but you don't have to if you don't want to. I think it's a little extra to get the package that comes with this from ASG, but of course you don't have to. If you don't like the look of it, you can just take it off or just not order it. That's completely up to you. Moving back from the handguard, we of course have our top rail that runs the top length of the gun, and then you have on this side you have your charging handle, which is it does have the ability to be ambidextrous. On this side, of course, because I am right-handed, I'm a right-handed shooter primarily, even though I switch back and forth. Typically when I do my reloads, I reload right-handed, just because that's my default. So right-handed, pull back with my left using my index finger, just pull straight back and it will lock in place for you. Or if you so choose, you can push it up to the top, similar to a MP5, and of course you can do an HK slap, but it's not going to go anywhere until you hit this little button right here, which is your charge hand, your bolt release, which I will note is completely functional in this gun. Now you might be asking, Wolf, what does that mean, fully functional? It's an airsoft gun. They don't have bolts. They don't do that. Well, they don't, unless you're like this gun, which has a lovely, lovely little Mosfet built into the gearbox, that when your magazine right here runs completely dry on ammo and you have to reload, the first thing that will happen is when you run completely dry, your gun, when put into the fire position, let's just say for hypothetical purposes, you have your battery plugged in, you go to pull your trigger, it won't do anything. And the reason is, this gun has a simulated last round system. And what that is when you hit your last round and there's nothing left in your magazine has a little lever on the back of it, which I don't know if you guys can see. There's that little lever, like paddle looking thing right here where my finger is. And when that is pushed up, it signifies that there is nothing in the magazine. And that trips a sensor in your Mosfet that when you pull the trigger, it completely disconnects the gun, which is actually pretty cool. Because it saves your gun from, number one, firing without a BB in it, effectively dry firing and running your gun and your battery. And it also serves as an added bit of realism. So, how do you get around that? Well, number one, let's just say this is a fresh magazine. I've taken my old one out, this is a fresh one. You insert your magazine back into the magazine well, wait for that click, and pull back on your charging handle all the way back until it locks, and send the bolt forward. Now, what will happen then is you'll be good to fire, assuming that you have inserted a full magazine, or one that has rounds in it at least. Of course, it's not going to do anything now because there's no battery connected, but once you insert a fresh magazine, you pulled the bolt back with your charging handle and released it, and it's of course a fresh magazine, you will be good to go ahead and get right back into ripping some hate on your enemies. I'm going to go ahead and pull this out for now, once again, for safety. And we're going to set this back to safe, which of course brings us to the lower receiver portion of this gun. Lower receiver, you have your ambidextrous mag release down here, which all you have to do is push in on it with your index finger. Very, very simple, similar to an AK style, if you will. You just push this forward until that little notch is even with the magazine well down there, and your mag will just rip straight out, no problem whatsoever with that. Of course, you have your micro switch trigger, which is very, very light. Go ahead and just show you how light that trigger is. See, that's all you need for that trigger to reset. That little bit of play. It's not much at all, and this gun is definitely a speed demon on the field. So, behind the trigger, of course, we have our selector plate, which you will notice there are 4 positions on this particular selector plate. The frontmost, of course, is your safety. Then right behind that, in the second position, is semi-automatic fire, so 1 shot. The next one is burst fire, because this gun does come standard with 3-round burst. which is really, really cool for anyone who's not super big on full auto like myself, but you want to get some more range, or some more rounds down range, I should say. Won't give you more range, I apologize. But it will help you get more effective rounds down range without sacrificing accuracy. And then, of course, you have your fun switch, which is your fully automatic fire when your selector is completely up and down in that vertical position. You go ahead and switch that all the way back. And of course, that selector, I should note, is ambidextrous. So when you flip it on one side, the other side goes with it. Very, very simple, very easy to operate, and it's very nice. Coming back to this side, of course, we have our mock bolt here. So when you do pull the charging handle back, that does move with your charging handle. And as you can see here, that is where your hop-up is. And unfortunately, your hop-up is it's a little different than what most people are probably accustomed to. It is not your typical like rotary style or the gear wheel. It is instead controlled by an Allen key. Now, love it or hate it, once you have it dialed in, this thing is very accurate once you have your hop-up dialed in, I will say. But it is a bit annoying to get in there with an Allen key if you don't carry one on you, like on the field. I personally do not. I will dial in my hop-up prior to gameplay. I found that to be the easiest. Dial my hop-up in before gameplay, and then close my bolt up and leave it alone. That's what I find the easiest personally, and that's just kind of how it is. There is, I will put I don't personally own one, as you can see. I just have the standard hop-up unit in there. There is a rotary style one that ASG makes, and it's made out of CNC'd aluminum, so if you're into that, of course, go and pick that up for yourself. I may be doing so myself at some point, but right now, I am perfectly fine with running the stock hop-up. I've had no issues with it, despite the slight inconvenience that it brings to the table. Moving back to the very back of the receiver, we have an ambidextrous sling attachment point here, and one on the exact same side here. And it also is good to note that there is an ambidextrous one here in that little groove of the receiver there, and that can be swapped over to this groove on the other side if you so choose. And that brings us to our last piece, which is the stock. Of course, very, very simple in design. It's just a straight back style stock. It can fold off to the side for storage, or I guess if you wanted to use it just like this as is. It's a very lightweight gun, I will say. For those of you who are big into CUB or lighter weight guns, this is definitely a very good gun for you. And it can fold back over and extend from the first position to a middle position, which I prefer, or all the way back into this last position, which I don't know why anyone would necessarily need that much length of pull, but some people have some rather long, lengthy arms, and it may be required. The other thing to note about the stock, which is kind of touching on the internals here, is you can quickly take it on or off simply by folding it over and pushing in on the spring guide, which is right here. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your quick detach spring system right there. As you can see, it just has an Allen key. You just take your stock off like so, run it off these little sliders here, and you just do a quarter turn on your spring, and you can change it out so you can be either bigger like outdoor field regulations or indoor field regulations simply by changing out your spring, which is very, very nice. And then all you have to do, take it and run it back onto those little indents, and it'll come back to the spring guide there. You just gotta slightly push it in and get the stock over it, and then slide it back into here, click, and you are good to go. And just like that, that is basically everything that you get out of this gun out of the box. Now, the better question is, how does it shoot? What's up, guys? I know that's all really cool stuff, and me rambling on about all the technical things that go into this gun is really cool, but it's time for your regularly scheduled ADD break, as Brandon Herrera would like. Now, as you all know, we're running this pretty much stock as is. and we have our 75 round mid-capacity magazine right here, and we're going to start off on semi-fire. So let's go ahead and shoot at this berm here, and we're going to rock it. So as you guys can see, it's pretty snappy for just having the basic Mosfet in this guy. We're using two 5-gram BBs, and it's shooting between 380 and 400 FPS at 1.5 joules. Now, I know you guys don't want to just see me shoot in semi, so we're going to go ahead and flip this to some burst action really quick, and then we're going to let it rip. Alright, and as you guys can see right there, we're out of ammo, so just as I discussed before, we have to go ahead and reload here, get a fresh mag. Go ahead and insert, put that back. And now, for the next bit, we're not going to go full auto on this mid-capacity mag. We're going to grab something a little different for all you high cap people out there that I know enjoy your high caps. Alright guys, so as you can see, we have a little bit different of a mag situation going on here. This is the 350 to 300 round high capacity mag made for the Scorpion Evo. It's not the most aesthetically pleasing thing in the world, but I know for some of you guys you prefer the high caps to the mid caps. So as you guys can see right here, I'll go ahead and show that to the camera. You can see that little scroll wheel on the bottom. And all you do, just like any other high cap, you just line that boy up and you're good to go. Now, since this is a high cap, we're going to go ahead and throw this on full auto and showcase the speed that this guy can get to. Now, it's time to get back to my personal build, back in the shop. I'll see you guys there. Welcome back from your little ADD break there, ladies and gentlemen. Stealing a quote from the one and only AK Jesus Brandon Herrera himself. We of course have my personal build right here, which looks pretty basic. I gotta be honest, it looks pretty basic. At least from the exteriors. Nothing too extravagant, nothing too exciting. But inside, I bet you thought I was going to say that it's pretty extravagant on the inside, didn't you? Well, you're probably wrong. Because the only thing internally that I've really changed, we'll go ahead and start with that, since I mentioned it. Internally, the only thing I have really changed myself are the motor, the hop-up nub and bucking, and the piston. And that is it. That is all I've changed in here, outside of what comes in this gun stock. Because stock, this gun does come with a 6103 Type bore inner barrel straight out of the factory. Very, very nice. It comes with that Mosfet, as I mentioned before. Very, very nice, very snappy, very responsive, and it has that nice 3-round burst function, which you would get out of other well-known Mosfet units, whether that be Titan, Leviathan. I believe there is one that's called Reaper. There's a plethora of Mosfet options, but honestly, with this guy, just use the basic Mosfet. It runs really, really well. I have no complaints about it. Internally, this gun, it doesn't need a whole lot. It really doesn't. It shoots really well. Like I said, the only thing I've changed are the bucking nub and motor, and the piston. Because the piston stock is a polymer piston. There's no steel teeth, so I went ahead and changed that out for a steel tooth Kratos piston. The bucking and nub are a Maple Leaf Omega hop-up tensioner or hop-up nub. The bucking is a Prometheus blue flat hop bucking, just a pair, similar with the WE ACR that I had, exact same bucking and nub combo. And then the motor is a short type Evike Performance Shop Monster high torque motor, and that is pretty much it internally for this gun. I haven't touched the internals of this gun too much. I've just left it stock, and it runs very, very well. This gun has a good name in the airsoft world for a reason, and that is exactly why. The internals run very, very well. The only thing I would change is, of course, that piston. Because it is not steel tooth, it will eventually run out on you, and that polymer will eventually break and wear out. So if I were you, I would change that out either myself, if you know how to do that. If you do not, please do not attempt to alter the internals of this gun, as it is a very pricey gun. and altering the internals by yourself, if you don't know what you're doing, you will most certainly be out of a gun for quite a while. So, I would recommend, if you have the money to do it, when you buy it, if you're buying it from somewhere like Evike or Airsoft GI, or even I think ASG themselves, if you're buying it direct, you can have them tune it for you. I would highly suggest changing out the stock piston for a full steel tooth piston. It doesn't have to be a Kratos by Angel Custom by any means, if that's not your thing. That's just that's what I go with, because that's what I use in a lot of my builds for AUGs. So that's just what I go with. You don't have to if you don't want to, of course, but that's what I would recommend, is just doing that. Externally, there's a lot more going on externally than internally in terms of what I've added to it. Of course, we have our PEC box, or our mock PEC box, I should say, made by Titan, featuring their 11.1 LiPo style battery that fits into this PEC box, so that I can wire it outside of the handguard. Just makes things a little easier for me. And of course, we have our mock suppressor, which is a Vulcan Tactical VS100. Nothing too flashy about that. And of course, that is attached on with that little adapter here, which I mentioned earlier, is that 18mm positive to 14mm negative adapter, which you guys did see I had uncovered for the video that I first debuted this gun for. And you might be wondering, why didn't I have a suppressor on there? And the simple answer is, I forgot. And personally, if it were me, I would keep those threads protected at all times, because those threads, while they are CNC'd aluminum, you don't want those to get damaged, because this little guy right here is a little pricey in terms of what adapters are, because of how it's made and the fact that it connects to the 18mm positive threading, and it's kind of difficult to find one that will fit on here other than this guy. But with all that, we're going to leave this guy off just to save time, and we're going to move on to the rest of the pieces on our handguard, which is where, honestly, that's where most of the external modifications are. It's just the handguard. Of course, we have our PTS style vertical grip right here with the coupling of our hand stop that I mentioned during the out of the box breakdown. I keep this here just because this barrel is rather short, and if you aren't paying attention, or you're in the middle of a heated battle and you try to do like a modified C-clamp and this guy's not here, you could potentially end up putting your finger up in front of the barrel or in front of your muzzle or whatever, and you don't want that. That's a bad day. This gun shoots, like I said, shoots very well and shoots very quickly. So if you're not paying attention, you could send quite a few rounds that are going to hurt quite a bit into your finger if you don't have something to prevent your finger from going up front. I mean, I've been playing for as long as I have been, and I still, if I don't have that there, my hand will still wander. So take that for what you will. Personally, me, I like how it looks and it functions, so I keep it on there. And then on the side, of course, we have my PTS XTM panels. I just have two right here on the side for a little better grip and mobility, and it keeps me from messing up the rails on the side of my gun as well. Keeps them nice protected, so they're not going to get messed up, because like I said, they are not metal, they are polymer, so they can chip or get damaged if they don't have some form of protection on them, and we don't really want that. Then, of course, we have a little T1. This guy is made by Vism, which is an optic company that I own quite a few optics of, and this one is a variable dot, and by variable I mean in color, not necessarily like a magnification. It can go either red or blue. I personally like to run the blue because that gives me the nice Black Ops 2 vibes. For all my Black Ops 2 veterans out there, you'll remember that the blue dot was the thing to have, and on this gun I like myself a good clean blue dot because I think it looks nice, and for me, I prefer the blue dot over the red dot in most situations. And then at the back here of the receiver, I have my own little SMG D-ring That way, if I need to sling it, not that this gun is very heavy, but in the event that I need to do something with both of my hands and I need to put this down, rather than putting it on the ground, I can just quickly sling it up to that little D-ring plate right there. You can find those in plenty of sling attachment bundles, whether with a sling or just with little attachments like this for different types of guns. I don't have anywhere in particular to look. If you search up sling attachment points, more than likely you will find something of this shape that you can easily attach either here on this side, on that side, or to this guy up front if you want to have a 2-point sling system going on for this particular gun. And that is pretty much it for my personal additions to this gun, which, a quick disclaimer, if it weren't obvious, the Cryptic Typhoon camouflage that is on this gun is not a stock feature. I will put that as a disclaimer. I don't recall if I mentioned it at the beginning of the video. If I didn't, I will now. The camo is supplied by a company that I'm not sponsored by. It's a company called Scorpion Skins. They make skins specifically from Scorpion and other guns, I believe. The Scorpion Evo, when you buy it, will come either in a black, which is what this gun was originally, as you can probably see from the top where the camouflage pattern is not, either black or tan, depending on your flavor preference. Personally, I had it in black, and then it got covered over by this really nice Cryptic Typhoon vinyl gun skin. So it adds a little bit of uniqueness to this gun, because I don't know very many ASG Scorpion Evos that have that pattern on them. In fact, this is the only one that I've ever seen, and of course it's my personal one. And it gets a lot of looks from people both on the field and off the field because of that. Is it something that you need to have? Absolutely not. If you don't want to have a pattern of any kind on your replicas, that's completely acceptable. I just thought it was kind of neat, and yeah, I think it adds something a little different to the overall aesthetic of this particular replica. So that pretty much wraps it up, guys. I'm just gonna put this down here while I talk to you guys so I don't drop it or anything. That pretty much wraps up the video for today. I really appreciate you guys sticking around to the end and for taking the time out of your day to watch this this video. You guys were really amped to see this gun in particular. And for those of you who don't know, we are very close to 300 subscribers.
Hey there, guys. Just hijacking my video here really quick for the outro. I know this has been a really long video, so I'll keep it brief for you guys. Don't want to bore you all to death. But I just want to say thank you guys really quick because, as I said here, we were really close to 300 subscribers. We were sitting at about 280 to 285 at the time that I recorded this. And we jumped from that in about the span of 2 days to being at 309 now. So, thank you. Honestly, guys, I did not expect this at all. I thought for sure that we would still be under 300 when this video went out. But here I am having to correct myself because we got to that goal. And to that end, I have a promise for you guys that you guys didn't know about yet, or maybe you did. I don't remember if I told you or not. So be sure to let me know how much my memory sucks in the comments, if so. But that is, you guys will get to have another review in the form of this gun right here. You get to see this girl. Yeah. Some of you guys didn't know where this came from, and some of the reels that you guys saw her in first, which she has not yet debuted on the channel outside of those few reels, so it's understandable that you thought I just got a new gun out of the blue and didn't say anything about it. No, she's just hanging around. She doesn't get out a whole lot, because she kind of heavy, a little heavy, but we'll cover that when we get to the review. But she's still a lot of fun. My M14 EBR, she pretty. Look at her. Look at that right there. But anyway, I said I'd keep it brief, so I plan to keep that going. So just thank you guys. I really appreciate you guys sticking around to the end. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. You guys don't want to miss this review coming out here very soon, along with some other really cool gameplay stuff, including Operation Battle of the Bulge. For any of you who saw me there at Bing for the operation there just this last month, obviously you guys will know that'll be going up on the channel very soon. I had some camera issues there, but that's not too big a deal. You guys will find out about that soon enough, but be on the lookout for that as well. Go ahead and like this video if you enjoyed. If you didn't, be sure to comment down below what you think I can do better for this review when we get to this M14 here that you guys are seeing. What you enjoyed about this review and what you want to see me talk about more in depth with this one that I did with the Evo here. And as always, this has been Wolf, and I hope to see you guys next time I hit the field.